Hello, my name is John Svek. Welcome to this All 24 video. Today, Coach Waterman and I are joined by a special guest. We have Coach Maxime Chaput Dupuy from Champlain. How you doing, Coach?
Good. How you guys doing? All right.
Great.
That's a good. That's a good example of out of phase play. You're gonna see or in phase play. Sorry, at the end. So you're getting a wide release right away. Okay. Quick step and then a wide release. So Ajay's in a great position right now, and see how hard he. Oh, that's actually not the inflate play. The inflate play will be after. So see how hard he leans again, and he's gonna run him out of bounds completely. The ball's in the air right now. And once he turns his head, the ball falls kind of on the 40, right? The receiver's not even in position to come make a play. And that's just a question of being able to lean, proper hand on the proper shoulder. Now he flips his head to see the ball after 15, and he's completely running the receiver out of bounds. Now, Guillaume Ranger, that receiver, was probably one of the top receivers we played in the year, and he made a big catch against Ajay on a fade in that same game, right? But not on that rep specifically. Our corner is doing a great job of just being physical with the receiver and running him out of bounds. That's the one right here. Yep. So vertical release early. Okay, see, he doesn't get a wide release. He really releases through our shoulder here. So the only thing I would like is see he's gonna inch early. He's a little late on the snap, so that puts him in a bad situation. But we'd like him to inch a little bit more. And once the receiver takes that first outside step, because it's not a wide step, would like to kick on top of that, all right? So if we go back at the beginning and we just go slow-mo, here's a little slow. Now, once we're gonna get that outside, see, that's not a wide release. He's kind of it's just a through, I would call that through our shoulder. So instead of him having his hip open right away, we'd like him to kick a little bit more on top, just to slow down the receiver a little bit more, okay? By having him on top there would have forced the receiver to bubble out a little bit more. And then our lean would have been easier too, because we're closer to the sideline right away. Okay. So right now, he's not doing a bad job, but right now after 15, he kind of loses contact with the receiver. Okay. That's telling me right now, he's not focusing enough on leaning. He's focusing too much on playing with the hands. I don't want us to play with the hands. Get your hand on his hip, your shoulder underneath his shoulder, and lean him on the sideline, right? Now at the end right here, he tries to make a play out of phase with the ball. The receiver ends up making a great play. And again, that's a tough ball to make, right? It's outside shoulder on the sideline. That's a very good catch by Guillaume. And I think just that if Ajay would have given us a better kick of that release, that route would have been wider. His lean would have been easier. And that ball probably falls on the ground just like the one before. And Ajay's in the stands, chilling with the receiver because the ball's on the ground, right? Yeah, so that's kind of what we want there.
And, Coach, I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, in a lot of the clips, you can see that the receivers are taught to just knock that hand away, knock that hand off. And
Sure.
As your DBs are with that close hand are really trying to stay on that hip, and they're just replacing it, but not focusing on that and falling behind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Coach. I want us to have contact with the hip and our shoulder underneath the shoulder. So I don't care if he tries to break my hand. My hand needs to go back to that hip. I'm not playing with the hand. I'm focusing on the hip itself, right? The second I think you start playing with the hand, that's when you get pushed off, right? Because the receiver's hands that will get to your shoulder, and now because you're playing with the hand, you're creating space. If you're tighter than the receiver, it's hard for him to play with your hand and create space because you're right underneath him, right? And I think the example right before, as he was doing a better job, now he's a little bit too far and getting caught up with all the fireworks there with the hands of the receiver. It's a great catch. Don't get me wrong, right? Great ball, great catch there. But
all right, let's check out the next one here. Up top.
Right here at the top again. Again, that's a play where I don't like the end of the play. You're gonna see here, release through the shoulder. We get a kick. Now we're ready to open up. Boom. When we get that wide release, we're bringing the outside hand, right? So now we're in a good position. Ajay is doing a good job. Now he's losing that lean again, right? Now the receiver will end up dropping that ball, but he's losing that lean at the end of the play right now. Right now his left hand should be on the hip and lean it on top. Right now that's a back shoulder play. If because of the position he was in phase, so he should have flipped his head and be able to play that ball with his inside arm, having the outside arm still on the hip, right? So you're kind of preventing that receiver to plant back and come back, and you're still playing the ball with that inside arm. Now, he does not flip his head, so he should be playing that like an out of phase play. So that left hand now should be coming to the ball. again, nothing against Ajay. That's kind of a mismatch, right? That receiver is a 6'5" kid, and Ajay is a 5'5" kid, right? So obviously, if you put the ball in the air like that, back shoulder is going to be a tough play to make for him, no matter what the technique we use, okay? But I just think if he would have leaned a little bit more and trusted his instincts and flipped his head a little bit faster, he's in a position to make that play because he's in phase. He's a little late flipping his head, and he ends up being in a bad position there. So you need to be a little bit tighter on his lean. Off the line, it was good. Just his lean is a little weak, and he doesn't flip his head when he's in phase fast enough.
And maybe, I mean, one thing I'm impressed about watching your guy there is that, the play's never over, even if he's out of phase. Nope. And so you talk a little bit about those DBs and just finishing the play. It's never caught until it's caught. Do you get in their heads about that?
Absolutely. The break drill we do is especially for that, right? I'm putting them in a bad situation 1 yard behind. And the reality of it is they're going to end up out of phase or out of place, maybe once every 2 or once every 3 reps in that drill, right? And the purpose of it is because we want them to force, and play until the end and try to make a play on the ball. So, yeah, that's a great point, Coach, making sure that the DBs understand that the play's not done until the whistle happens, right? And right now, yes, Ajay's not making the play, but, I think one could argue that he's still tight enough to be in the receiver's head, right? He's trying to make that play, right? And it's still a tough catch. I mean, it's a back shoulder play, real high. It's a tough ball to catch. And I think the fact that Ajay's right there kind of put the concentration away from where the receiver would need to have it. So, yeah, that's a great point, Coach.
All right, now close to the goal line here.
Yeah, that one we get a call on. Okay, I still put it because it's an example of the out of phase in the end zone principle, right? So Ajay will be in a great position right now. But he understands he's in the red zone, so he still plays it out of phase, puts his hand on the ball. To me, that's a great play. Ball's on the floor. I'm real happy about that play. Be honest, I don't know why we got a call. I think that was a pretty good technical play. We're not using our hands too much. We flip our head, we look at the ball, and we play the hands. So I mean, Ajay's doing a great job there, playing through the hands, and that's a great example of being out of phase or not. Well, playing out of phase inside the red zone, right? So that's just why I put it there. I think off the line, he's good. He's playing physical with the receiver, and he puts that close hand right through that ball. So I really like that play. All right, so now we're going to talk about slants. I have 2 or 3 examples. Well, that's a slant. That's going to be a slant play right now. So see right away the receiver breaks. Again, one step. Would like to inch on that first step just to give us that depth, right? Now Ajay's not moving, so we would have liked him to back up a little bit just to inch. And off that inside break, we'd like to kick on top, bring our left hand now to his pec, and right away rip underneath his arm and force him on the line, okay? Now, right now he's late on his feet. He's late on the snap first off, so that's not good. He doesn't inch on the first steps, and as soon as the receiver breaks in, he doesn't kick either, right? So he basically ends up being in a trail. Now we're lucky because our halfback kind of rubs that ball, so quarterback keeps in, and then we roll around. The ball will end up being thrown out of bounds. But see, again, that's a good example of what you were talking about, Coach Waterman. He got beat off the line. We're lucky enough the ball didn't come out, and he plays until the end of the play, right? So it's a good tribute to him working hard and playing until the whistle. But off the line, that was a pretty poor technique, right? No inch off that first step, no kick inside. The end is laid. He ends up being in a trail position. That's something we don't want to see, right? If you look at the next play, right here, that's going to be a slant again, and he's going to end up making a play on the ball there. And you're going to see right now, you're going to have a vertical few first steps where we're going to inch a little bit. Now we break inside, we kick, close hand, and now we're on top of that shoulder. See, right now we're in a better position. And he ends up making a play on that ball. What I would like a little bit better is inch is good. All right, that kick is not bad. But now, right now, when we get into contact, okay, I'd like that kick to be a little wider so we can stay inside leverage off that kick, all right? So he kind of gets beat inside on that kick. He still ends up putting the right hand and fighting for that upfield shoulder. But if he'd given us just a little bit more of an inside kick, he'd be in a better position inside of that and probably making a play on the ball, not just batting it down, right? But there's a big difference here between this example, fighting for the upfield shoulder and being in a position to make the play, right, versus the other rep before where we just don't get inside that upfield shoulder. Now, when we talk about the presentation a little bit earlier, right? We would like that right arm. So once the receiver commits inside, right, we kick, punch, and right now that right arm, we'd like it to rip underneath the shoulder of the receiver, okay? Which is what he's gonna end up doing at the end of the rep. He's gonna rip underneath that, but he rips with the left arm, okay? So we'd like to rip with that right arm and be able to make a play on the ball with our left. And that's just a question of not being able to kick inside hard enough right off that release. He still ends up making a play though, so we're good to go. I think that's the last play. That's just a dig, right? It's just a different example. Because we talked a lot about fades, but so we get an inside release, okay? We get beat off that kick right away, but we end up still being underneath the receiver in a proper position at the end, right? Just because in that trail, so that's an example of trail and follow drill, right? We're underneath, we have hands on the hip, we feel the breakdown, we're able to break to the receiver's hip, and we're still in a position to make the play, right? What I would have liked though is that we kicked harder and we forced that receiver outside. So when he breaks on that dig, we're already inside, okay? Now, Ajeri's doing a great job gaining back inside and playing with leverage at the end of the play. So you're going to see now at the end, he does get back inside, but we'd like that break to be over him and not inside of him.
Phenomenal. Well, that's great, Coach. A lot of great stuff there, a lot to digest. Any final thoughts, Coach Waterman, on these techniques here?
No, I was like I said, I thought you did a great job, and it was just really nice breakdown of how you teach your techniques, Coach.
Thanks a lot, coaches.